Did they make
No,
contact?
I don't know. It's pretty close, but this is going to be a drag race.
Right
Look
there.
at this.
Moves
Wow.
him to win it. Carl Edwards bump and dump and run.
Here comes Gordon right up to the bumper again. The bump and run.
There it is.
Didn't mean to really turn around, meant to Reilly's cage up.
Welcome to the Bumper Run Podcast. I'm your host, Michael D. White, joined by my two best friends, Matt the Statman Reilly and Eric Daytona Ron. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys had yourselves a engine number 9 Chase Elliot type of weekend. He was the big winner down at the Ally 400, but I don't think someone told him, hey, Chase, that's not your sponsor, that's Alex Bowman's sponsor. He had a rough one. We'll talk about it later on, but first, make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Video available every Tuesday morning on YouTube, audio every Monday night, except for this week and probably next week because we got a holiday weekend coming up too. But we're here, we're live and alive on a Tuesday, fellas. How the hell are you? How is your weekend, Matt? I saw you on Saturday. We had your dad threw a diaper party for the incoming baby Reilly. Daytona Ron, you were off on your own excursions. What were you guys doing, man? Where are you?
Eric, go ahead. I know you had a wild,
Yeah,
different wild weekend for you this weekend.
I was up my hunting cabin with all the guys for a work weekend up there. Of course, the weekend we all go up there and are free to go up there. It's 90-some degrees out, not a single cloud in the sky, and we are ripping an old roof off of the hunting cabin, and we were putting a new roof on, and it was exhausting, hot, brutal. So I didn't catch any racing this weekend at all. So yeah, it was hot and exhausting weekend for me, and it ended with that rain delay race we saw on Sunday, which, man, did that affect how I took in this race this week. So I'll get into that later on.
So to come full circle, I think a couple months ago you told us on the podcast, you're like, oh, I was down my hunting cabin, a tree fell on it, right? So now a couple months later, you finally got down there to do some repairs.
Yeah, well, the tree just didn't fall on it. My brother and his buddy went up there to try to cut it down, and the tree, it ended up being way bigger than they expected it to be, but they said, you know what, fuck it, we're going to go for it anyway.
Yeah.
And it's the middle of the winter. It was windy, cold, and you know what? They started cutting, and next thing you know, boom, right through the middle of the cabin, tree went down. So we had to rush up there. At that time, it was 15 degrees out, and we had to gut it, clean it out, shore up the walls, seal it all in so that there was an impending snowstorm. Nor'easter coming, dropped another 20 inches. So we had to get up there immediately to seal it all in and fix it. So this was the time when we were going to actually put the roof on. And, when we were sealing that up, it was super cold, putting the roof on. Here it is. It was super hot. But, I learned a lot of cool things, though. That was something that I took from that. I was kind of excited in a way because, all those, my dad and his buddies, they, you learn from those guys. So, when I get older and I need to, maybe possibly do that, it's good to retain some of that information. I never put a roof on, so some of the terminology, some of the stuff, it was a cool process to learn for myself in case, down the road I could help someone or do it. So it was a learning experience, a lot of hard work, but, nothing Daytona can't handle.
I hope Brian at least came up and helped you put the roof on.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't, Matt, I wouldn't let him stay home. There was no way. I told my father that same thing. I go, listen, if I'm late, it's because I'm dragging Brian out of his bed, and he's definitely coming up because he didn't help with the cleanup. He didn't help build the trusses. So he was definitely going to help tear it up and put it on. So, he was up there, and it looks good.
I heard while you're down there, you're discussing NASCAR a little bit. You want to?
Yeah, there was a little NASCAR being discussed, and my buddy PJ, he's a Chase Elliot fan, and we did have a little conversation about Chase on Saturday, and I end up wrecking myself later on. So I'll get into the weeds later.
All right. And how about you, Matt? I saw you for about an hour on Saturday. I wish I could have stayed for the whole party, but my girlfriend had a family party to get to also. So how's the rest of the diaper party? When I left, you guys were watching the Austin Dillon reality TV show. How did the Xfinity Series race go for you guys?
Yeah, so the diaper party was going on during the Xfinity race. I honestly, I tried to pay attention as much as I could, but with everyone there and everything, it's hard to, so it went well. It was really, really fun. Yeah, so it was in the diaper party fell on the exact same weekend we ended up moving into the new house, as you can see with the new background and everything. We're in the new house finally. So, much like Eric, it was a non-stop work weekend for me. Moving is not fun at all.
Yeah.
When you finally get settled in, you take a second to look around, you can appreciate it. But the act of moving sucks big time. Especially like Eric said, it was 90 all weekend, and just not the best elements to be doing it. But again, super grateful. I'm finally home. I'm close. I'm recording this as close to you guys as I've ever been while recording this. So I'm just right across the river from you guys. So it's exciting times right now.
I think next stop we need to do a live show somewhere. Maybe our buddy Douse's bar or something like that. Get some rowdy people in the background. But I do have to make one note about your diaper party. Mr. Reilly, fantastic sausage and peppers. I'm a big sausage and peppers guy. It was a delicious sandwich, so I thank you for having me. It was fantastic. But do you guys want to jump into the NASCAR news? We skipped last week. We went on a little vacation, and we missed a whole lot of news in the meantime. You guys want to jump into it?
What's the news? Let's hear it.
Yeah, I got tons of stuff. So it seems the Chicago street course is still on the table and likely to happen in 2023. We're still waiting on the schedule to be released later this summer. Unfortunately, with the new street course, someone's got to lose a date, and it's being speculated that where we're going this weekend, Road America might be the date lost because they were only on a 2-year contract. They haven't signed any sort of contract extensions or anything like that, as far as I know. So kind of unfortunate, because I'm really looking forward to this road course at Road America. What do you guys think about that? I know last season we discussed the Chicago street course in length, and I feel like I was the only one who was for it, and now I think we're all against it. But what do you guys think about that?
It's not that I'm totally against it, because, again, I'm willing to try everything once just to see how it goes. It might be the best freaking thing NASCAR has ever done, so I'll reserve my judgment. I'm not excited about possibly losing Road America, though. Last year put on a really good show. I'm hoping this year puts on a really good show. And those fans really showed out up there. So to give them 2 races and then to yank it from them, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it yet.
Yeah, I think they got like 100,000 people last year too. So
my thing is with the street race, I was always against it. Just because it didn't, I don't know. I thought they were expanding out a little too far in my eyes from who we are as a sport.
Yeah.
But I will give credit when credit is due, that the stuff that they have done in the last year, 2 years has worked, and it's been fun. So as long as it's fun and entertaining, I think that's kind of where we're going right now, is the future of the sport. They're trying to keep a little bit of both, as far as, it's good NASCAR, we're racing, but the entertainment value's got to be there. The fun's got to be there. Not too gimmicky, but like you said, Matt, I'd hate someone to lose a date, but how about this? I just thought of this. I don't know if it's ever a possibility. I doubt it. But do you think there'll ever be a point where nobody has multiple dates, where the full schedule is completely different racetracks, the whole schedule? So there is no, oh, you have 2, I have 1, I have 0.
Yeah.
And you have 2, because that's kind of bullshit now. Some have 2, and some get stripped of their 1. So what if it's just like, hey, do you think it'll ever get to a point where it's just, hey, the series is, even if they cut it, from 36, they cut it down and just have all the races be different races, no back-to-back races, no taking notes from how you did in the beginning to the second race and to do better or whatever. What do you guys think about that?
I'm in complete agreement. Maybe not every single one is different, but I would rather see a track with 2 dates lose one of their dates before a track with 1 date loses its exclusive date.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. I mean, some tracks I do enjoy going back, the super speedways. I've said it ad nauseum on this podcast. I love the super speedways. Go back to Dega and Daytona twice a year. Some tracks, Richmond don't need a second date. Phoenix don't need a second date. So there are certain tracks that we can definitely pull from and give to other tracks. So the one thing I was thinking about, though, I mentioned that Road America, those fans would be getting a race ripped out from them. To my understanding, I actually don't think Chicago's that far away from Road America in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
I could be wrong, but I think it's within like a 2-hour drive.
I think you're right. I think it's like a 2 or 3 hour drive. I know Pistol Pete Pistone, who works for MRN, he used to make the drive all the time out to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. And I think they actually fly into Chicago and then drive out there. Cause you hear like Dave Moody talk about stopping at the Cheese Castle and stuff like that. So, no, Matt, you named the 4 tracks that I had in mind. Exactly. I want to see Daytona and Talladega twice a year. Everywhere else you could take the second date.
I could live with that too. I could definitely live with the super speedways twice and everything else one. But to go back, I just thought too, like, the entertainment value and getting eyes on the sport. I don't know where this street course would be, but like I'm picturing like in a city, like, and imagine if you're just in your apartment building and there's a race going on. Like, you mean to tell me you're not going to be looking out your window?
Oh, for
checking
sure.
out those cars going by. So like, there's fans and eyes on the sport that like you're almost there's no escaping it. You know what I mean? So like that might be a way to get new eyes on the sport, be it just where the race is. Like, yeah, there's no maybe grandstand set up or, you'll have little things in certain sections of the street course. But if you're going through a city, man, that'd be pretty cool to live in those apartment buildings or some of those, places, just seeing the cars go by.
It becomes a big event, a spectacle event.
Yeah.
And I think if you go back to I forget what episode, I wish I could name it off the top of my head, but the episode we talked about it last year, where we kind of compared, which would you rather, going to Chicago as a street course or going back to North Wilkesboro? And I was fighting hard about not going back to North Wilkesboro and bringing the sport to as many eyes as possible. And, Wilkes County, North Carolina, not a whole lot of people up there compared to downtown Chicago. So like, I agree with that. Bring it kind of like what we did to the LA Coliseum, bring it to downtown metropolitans. I wouldn't want to see it more than once though. I wouldn't want to see, a New York City street course, a Miami street course and all that stuff either. Cause then, like you said, we're getting away from our identity as a sport also, But
not to get into weeds anymore, on this. Yeah, go ahead. Let's keep it rolling.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you want to go back, if you search the archives, you can find it. It was in one of the pickle lanes, and I still stand by not going back to North Wilkesboro even today. This is a side tangent. I saw someone post on Twitter from back in the day. They're like, everyone that's complaining about not going to North Wilkesboro doesn't remember the racing at North Wilkesboro. It was impossible to pass even back in the 90s. So I don't know. I think a lot of people have too much nostalgia for the track. Anyways, suspensions. Cliff Daniels, 4-race suspension after Kyle Larson lost a tire at Sonoma. We knew it was coming, but we just didn't have the official word last time we recorded.
Same thing's gonna happen with Busher and his crew too.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even know who Chris Busher's crew chief is. I apologize on that one, but he's definitely taking a 4-week vacation after this past weekend. A few weeks ago, we touched on our history segment. We talked a little bit about Adam Petty and Victory Junction. I saw Kyle Petty had a charity motorcycle ride. He does it every year. I saw them doing it in real time a couple weeks ago, and we didn't cover it. I wanted to wait until we saw how much money they raised. They raised $1.8 million for Victory Junction, which I think is a great charity. If you didn't listen to that episode a couple weeks ago, Victory Junction is a nonprofit summer camp for kids who are, have terminal illnesses or disabilities and stuff like that. People who normally wouldn't be able to go to summer camp, to kind of give them some sort of sense of normalcy as they're struggling as a little kid. So big congratulations to Kyle Petty and the great work that family continues to do with that organization. $1.8 million for riding across the country on a motorcycle. That ain't too bad, I tell you what.
The King actually rode too, and I heard he rode a lot more miles than they all expected, because Eric Jones, he rode with the King as well, being part of Richard Petty. So he was part of the motorcycle ride and everything too. And I'll tell you what, man, the King, for his age and his health, man, you got to give it to him. He's still out there fucking giving it his all.
I tell you what, like, I don't know how old the King is, but however old he is, he looks fantastic for his age. I know he dyes the goatee and the hair to look younger and everything, but maybe because he looked old back then, he doesn't look that old today.
I mean, we just saw, with Dolly Parton, the whole with Nashville and her, like, same thing with her. Like, I know there's a lot of plastic involved in that, but at the same time, you still have to have the ambition and the energy to go and get up and still, be active and be in the limelight still. And man, both of them, they're killing it.
Oh yeah. I hope I could do that in my old age, but my knees are already hurting and I'm turning 34 next week. Speaking though of Richard Petty and Eric Jones says they're working on the final details of his contract at Petty GMS, just working out the little tiny details right now. So expecting an announcement sometime soon with that. I'm guessing he's not going anywhere if they're this far along in negotiations. Let's see. Fox, speaking of the All-Star race, they're expecting to look at the possibilities of moving it around, maybe moving it to different markets and whatnot. That could be an interesting thing. Maybe make the All-Star race the Chicago street course. I'd be
down with that.
Yeah. How about you, Eric? What do you think about that?
I just think they should. I mean, I think I've said this before. I think they should use the All-Star race as
like a testing ground.
As a testing ground to see how it'll work. This way, no matter what, the fans can't bitch because it's only an All-Star race. Yeah, it's not a points paying. Oh, Clash, try it out. Same thing. So use one or the other as like a kind of a testing. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a little bit of testing in the past couple of years with the All-Star race. I know they tested it was the 550 package in 2018. Everyone loved it, so they brought it out for 2019. 2020 they tested moving the numbers around and stuff. So who knows? Maybe I don't know. I hope we're right. In fact, I hope we don't lose any dates except from Texas. That is just an awful track. Speaking of Texas, a couple weeks ago, we know they threw an untimely caution. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. got into the wall in Texas during the All-Star race as Ryan Blaney was taking he was taking the checkered flag. They said no white, no finishes under yellow, so they restarted. It was a big controversy. Well, this past weekend, people were complaining they didn't call the caution at the end of the race for Brad Keselowski and Cole Custer getting involved with each other. And that's because they said it last week, NASCAR was changing its caution calling process after what happened at the All-Star race. And so for all the people that have been complaining, saying NASCAR rigged Sunday to let Chase Elliott win, that couldn't be further from the truth. They heard you complaining at the All-Star race about throwing cautions too quick, and they adjusted it. And both Cole Custer and Brad Keselowski made it down to the apron, no problem. Speaking of Ricky Stenhouse Jr., though, he also signed a multi-year deal with JTG Doherty over the weekend. That was announced. So you guys think about Ricky returning to the 47 car?
Steady improvement. He's been improving year after year with them, and I feel like I don't know if there's a culture change, but I feel like a lot of these drivers, they want to go to either a 1-car or a 2-car team, and they don't want to go to these big top-notch teams. They want camaraderie. They want family. They want to be the one. They don't want to have to worry about 3 other teammates and what they're doing and what I should do for them. So I don't know. I think these single-car teams and these smaller teams is the place where some of these drivers feel most comfortable and are going to want to stay.
So I have a question to pose off of what you just said, but first, just jumping in, Martin Truex Jr., he also said he'll be back next year. So we kind of have both sides here. We have Martin Truex Jr. signing with the big, JGR team, 4-car stable. We have Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at a single-car stable. It was a 2-car. They knocked out one of those cars because they went charterless, and now they have the single-car charter. And then over the weekend, we hear rumblings that Dale Jr., of course, he talked about it last year, he wants to get into the Cup Series. And it makes me wonder, we have a finite amount of charters. Charters have to come from somewhere. Do you think that maybe, I'm not saying in the near future, but in the future, the business model can kind of flip, and some of these big powerhouse teams will cut back to maybe a 2-car operation, sell those charters for more than they paid in the beginning, kind of make a little bit of profit on that, and then maybe we see a whole bunch of smaller teams like Trackhouse, like Colleague, like Junior Motorsports, like JTG Doherty. You think there's a possibility there?
I don't. And the only reason I say that is because a lot of these guys already have multi-year deals. I mean, look at Hendrick Motorsports, for example. They're all locked in for several years down the road.
Well, yeah, that's why I just said, like,
something it would
down
have to
the
be
line
that they'd have to build up over time. So maybe long term, maybe, but I don't see that happening anytime in the near future.
Yeah, I could kind of see it happening whenever these new manufacturers that the rumor mill is spitting out comes closer to fruition, because that they're going to need either to buy a team out or get a charter somewhere too. So like, I would think maybe at that time, maybe they would kind of start selling off and split them up, and maybe like try to cash in on a good money grab too, selling those off like you're hinting at.
Yeah.
But to Matt's point, I don't think it's anytime soon. I think when the manufacturers try to get in, that might be the best timing to try to maybe have that go down, but not anytime soon.
Yeah, it honestly just popped into the top of my head, thinking about like, oh, where could Junior get a charter from? Apparently they want to run some part-time races. I have a fun, here, I'll just pull out the tinfoil hat right now. Fun little tinfoil hat right off the bat. I think if Junior does want to run part-time in the Cup Series, they got to get like just a straight Hendrick car, right? Like, I don't even know if that'd be allowed, but like run a Hendrick car as an open team. Cause you know how like every year, a couple open teams come and try to qualify for Daytona. Hendrick is always lightning fast and puts a car on the pole. Conspiracy theory says like, oh, maybe, that Junior Motorsports car wins the pole at Daytona and doesn't even have to worry about the duels and racing their way into the Daytona 500, kind of getting I don't know. Does that sound stupid to you guys? The looks on your face says yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna say yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Keep it moving.
Should have left that one in the bathroom when I thought of it before the show.
Hey, Whitey.
Yeah.
Get it together.
You want to know what? The problem is we took a week off. This is what happens when you try to recharge the batteries. We
took a week off, and 2 out of the 3 of us didn't make the end of that race. So
yeah.
We apologize in advance if we're a little flat this week.
We'll talk about it. Hey, I remember early on, we figured out the race dictates the podcast on Mondays. So rain delays bring sleepy podcasts, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, speaking of rain delays, Goodyear had a wet weather tire test at Martinsville. They're still trying to figure that out. No developments there. And sad news, Bruton Smith passed away. course, longtime president of SMI in Charlotte, built himself an empire in racing. Just a legend of the sport, and I don't think we would be here today where we are to this level in NASCAR if it wasn't for Bruton Smith. So big condolences to his family, and of course, Marcus Smith moving on and keeping that legacy going at SMI, of course. But that's all I have for news. You guys want to jump into the NASCAR history? It's a short one. On this date in 1990, yesterday's date, June 27, 1990, Days of Thunder was released. I think that's a red letter day in the history of NASCAR. I know Days of Thunder, I was a huge fan of the movie before I ever got into the sport. I assume a lot of people are like me. I love Mellow Yellow because of it.
I was the total opposite. I've been watching the sport my whole life. I just saw Days of Thunder for the first time like 3 or 4 years ago.
Really? As an adult, you watched Days of Thunder as an adult?
Yep. And it was awesome. I liked it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I watched it as an adult too. Like I didn't see it as a kid either. Like I'm gonna say, Matt, same thing with you. Maybe in the last 5 or 10 years, I probably saw it.
But
since then, with that,
but it held up to you for you guys though, right?
And I've seen it like 20 times, but like I just haven't. I didn't get. It's one of those movies that it was always on my list. I just never got to it. And then finally one day, I think it was, a rainy day or a snowy day. And I said, I'm going to watch it today. And I made it a point to watch it. And then I was happy I watched it. Good flick.
You know what?
And it holds up too. I think it does. Like, it's just like, it's kind of a nostalgia, like classic 90s movie.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that it's still held up when you watch it for the first time in your adulthood. You know what movie I was like that with, though, for the longest time was on my list, never watched it? Shawshank Redemption. So I never saw it. I always heard like, Shawshank Redemption, phenomenal movie. The one day it was in Penn State. I was visiting for the weekend. You know how Penn State weekends are. I mean, Matt, you went to Penn State, so you lived through it for years. But it was like a Sunday morning before the football, like NFL games started, and Shawshank Redemption was on AMC, and we were all watching in our buddy's living room. I was like, this is one of the greatest fucking movies of all time. It's one of those movies, if you catch it on TV, you have to stop whatever you had planned, just sit down and watch the rest. Matt, I guarantee you will love Shawshank Redemption. Okay. It is a fantastic movie.
Okay. That's one of those that's on that and The Green Mile are two movies that are on my list that I haven't seen yet.
I never saw The Green Mile. I'm telling you though, watch the Shawshank Redemption. It is a 10 out of 10. Phenomenal movie. Speaking of phenomenal, I don't know if it was phenomenal, but we had a pretty good NASCAR race.
Good segue for you. Speaking of the Green Mile, we went to a 1.3 mile track.
We were down.
Transition. Listen, fans and listeners of the show, stick with us. It's gonna get better as we go on here.
All right, let's jump into the race weekend. We were down in Music City, Nashville, and for the second time in his Truck Series career running part-time, Ryan Preece won in Nashville. That's where his only wins have come in the Truck Series. Him and Zane Smith really dominated the day. He led 74 laps, and Zane Smith led 70 laps. In the end, it was Ryan Preece to get it done. Xfinity race on Saturday, another dominant race by Justin Allgaier, dominating, leading 134 laps. And then on Sunday, I know you guys didn't get to see the whole entire race. I did. It was a dominant performance by Toyota all night long, but in the end, leading 2 times for 42 laps, Chase Elliot got it done at the midnight hour, and you know that siren was going off in the middle of the night in Dotsonville, Georgia. The race lasted 3 hours and 35 minutes and 15 seconds on track time. It went on for 6 hours, something like that, with rain delay. We saw 10 cautions for 57 laps, a few weather delays, 18 lead changes among 7 different drivers. I stayed up late. I bit the bullet for the Bump and Run podcast. I knew you guys were snoozing, and I was like, you know what? I got to do it for the listeners, for the friends of the show. I got to stay up late, and I'm glad I did. I thought it was a great race, but what did you guys think? Were you even able to give it race grades? How'd you figure out today?
I gave it a race grade. I mean, I did see up till the rain delay. And then after that, NBC puts out a hell of a highlight package, like legitimately like a half hour long. So I mean, I feel like I saw all the important stuff. So I mean, take my race grade with a grain of salt, but I did give a race grade.
Okay, you want to jump into it then?
Yeah. So from what I saw, I mean, it seemed like a solid B+ race. Like I said, everything leading up to the rain delay, I was able to see. The racing seemed really good. It seemed like the front 2 or 3 cars would get out and away from the rest of the pack, but they still kind of battled for the lead. So we still had that battle for the lead that we've been craving over the past couple weeks. So that was good to see. One of the things that I liked that didn't even really have anything to necessarily do with the actual racing was I like that Nashville is a concrete track.
Yeah.
I mean, much like Dover is as well, it's just a little bit better. You get used to those intermediate tracks. They're almost all asphalt except for Nashville. And I just think aesthetically, it sets it aside from the other tracks. And, nothing that had nothing to do with my race grade or anything. I just wanted to, as a little side note, point that out, that I really like that it's a concrete intermediate track.
No, I think you make a good point with that because one, it takes rubber differently. It shows rubber differently, so aesthetically it looks cooler. Well,
they pull the rubber up too. So
yeah.
Like as a crew chief and as a driver, you have to realize that at the end of a run, when you're going around and you pick all that rubber up, you're going out there to a non-rubber track on this restart. So adds another element of strategy involved there as well.
I don't know if you guys saw it. I forget which rain delay restart it was, but it was after a long caution period. All the drivers, they were getting ready to pit as the race was starting, but they were all scrubbing their tires before they even pit to put fresh tires on, which is something I don't think I've ever seen in a race so far.
Stop in their pit stall, you know what I mean?
Exactly, that's why they need that grip to hit their marks in the pit box too, which I thought was pretty interesting. Something you don't see on a week to week basis.
Let me ask you something. So I didn't see that. Was that something that the NBC crew pointed out?
Oh yeah, they pointed.
It sounds like something that they would point out. Okay, so right there, I'll get into it.
Oh yeah,
right there, little things like that make the difference.
Yep, and I forget who pointed it out. I want to say it was America's favorite crew chief.
It sounds like something he would point out.
Stevie Letarte. But yeah, how about you, Eric? What was your race grade? I think you did the similar thing with the highlight package, right?
Yeah. The majority, I mean, I saw stage 1, stage 2. I just didn't see the stage 3. From what I saw, and then the highlights, it seemed like nothing changed as far as the racing that I saw to the last stage.
Yeah.
Like Matt, it seemed clean air was key for those guys up front. I know Denny, he talked about that a lot during some of the delays and how he wanted to get back up front. And when he got out front, his car drove completely different, and that's what he needed.
Yeah.
So that was there. But what I had down was, I thought if NBC didn't have this race, it's probably a C or a D race.
Oh yeah.
But because they showed, NBC knew that clean air was key and the front 3 drivers weren't battling hard or whatever. So they did the right thing and didn't show the leaders.
Yeah.
They went and showed the actual battles that were going on.
A lot of battles.
In the mid-pack. Right. Because that's where the dirty air was. That's where these cars, hey, guess what? You ran top 5. Now you're in 15th after this pit cycle. Now let's see how your car handles. Now let's see how you could drive. And they were showing that. So I think they actually amplified, and I would love to go back and see some of these C and D grades that I gave. I bet you they were probably better races than what we actually got to see or what was broadcasted to us. So I just think that added a little bit more excitement for me, that they were showing those battles. My guy was battling back there in 11th to 15th all day.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see that and then focus on those cars. But yeah, it's just a solid B race from what I saw. There was passing. The restarts were crazy, 4 wide, 3 wide. It was just a good race. There was nothing bad. There was nothing really crazy that could stand out as far as, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. But yeah, I just think it was overall, it was just a good race.
Yeah. I echo your guys' standard. I echo your guys' sentiments. I completely agree. I gave it a B. And in fact, as soon as the race was over, I sat up off the couch and I said to myself, that was a solid B race. I'm glad I stayed up and watched it. So yeah, despite the weather, I thought it was a solid race. Seemed hard to pass, like Matt said, for the lead, but we still saw those battles. We saw, Kevin Harvick battling up front for 3rd and 4th place and stuff like that. We saw Martin Truex Jr. and Denny battling for the lead on restarts. And like Eric said, we saw those mid-pack battles on the broadcast. And not only did we see a lot of them, we didn't just see 2 cars zoomed in on each other or 1 car zoomed in. We saw nice wide angles from the corners. We saw 7 cars on the racetrack at one time, and you could really see stuff going on. We saw the broadcast covering a driver struggling in the middle of the pack with the handling of his car. And then Dale Jr., before the guy hits the wall, he goes, he's about to hit the wall. And he does. It just goes to show you the difference, the night and day difference between what we saw on Fox for the last 4.5 months and what we saw on NBC right out the gate. Twitter echoed the same sentiment. Everyone was loving the broadcast. You still have haters that hate, the broadcast crew. People talk shit on Rick Allen or Jeff Burton or Dale Jr. or all those guys throughout, but that's just haters. You're going to get haters, What are you going to say, Matt?
I'll never understand why people hate on Rick Allen. I think he is so goddamn good at his job.
Yeah. He's
again, I'll get into it. a little later on, but
yeah, I think they all do a fantastic job. I was just really happy, and I really enjoyed the late race drama. I don't know, because you guys watched the highlights, you saw the drama unfold, but as it was happening, it was really exciting. With the green flag stops and Chris Buescher's wheel going off, and then we saw Josh Bilicki. I think it was Josh Bilicki, right? His engine expired and stuff. So really throwing wrenches all over the place, different strategies and stuff. I love that kind of stuff. I hated it for some of the Toyota guys that pitted on that last caution and then lost tons of track position and never made it back up. But yeah, fucking solid B+ race. Loved every minute of it. And Eric brought up watching and the environment. I feel like I watched 3 different races on Sunday, because when the race started, I went up to our buddy Shrey's house. He had a little barbecue cookout deal going on. So I watched the first section of the race on my phone till the rain delay. Then we were playing yard games and all that stuff. And then once that rain delay ended, we all went inside and watched that part until the next rain delay. Then I went and got ice cream, and then I watched the final at my girlfriend's. So it was like 3 days of racing for me all in one afternoon evening. So it was kind of fun. But you guys want to jump into the checkers and wreckers? All right, Eric, let's start with you since we went to Matt. Or do you want to start with me? Because I actually watched the race. I don't know.
Let's do that.
All right.
Yeah, I like that. You never go first.
I never go first. All right. I am going to give my checkers, and I thought long and hard. I'm like, all right, obvious one, NBC. No, I'm giving it to Toyota. I was nervous about Toyota's performance early on in the year. If you go back to some of the first episodes, I was like, man, what's going on with Toyota? They're barely getting guys in the top 10. You look at Denny Hamlin, he's got 2 wins on the season, but he's still sitting in 20th place, taking up some dire playoff spots for people that are way more consistent than him. But yeah, I think they've been running really well lately. And Sunday might have been the best performance of the entire year for the manufacturer as a whole. I know a Chevy won, but it didn't tell the whole story of just how dominant JGR was. And I wrote down some stats. I feel like Statman Matt on a Tuesday here. Denny finished 6th. I think he had one of the best cars all night. Him and Martin Truex Jr. swapping the lead like crazy. How many laps did he lead? Denny led 5 times for 114 laps. It was a 300 lap race. Martin Truex Jr. led 6 times for 82 laps. Kyle Busch led 2 times for 54 laps. Besides the 42 laps that Chase Elliot led near the end, like nobody else led anything. Like they led maybe 6 laps, maybe 4 laps, so just Toyota dominating hard. And even Bubba had a super fast car in practice, rough qualifying effort. And then, we all know what happened on pit road. And that goes to my record.
Look at Kurt Busch's day.
Kurt Busch finishing second. He was in position to win on that last restart, So yeah, just a solid day. I think every Toyota ran in the top 10. Christopher Bell had a solid day. He was in the top 10 for a lot. I had him on my fantasy team. He fell back a couple times through like pit cycles and stuff where he dropped to 20th, but just a fantastic day for Toyota. Will they have a fantastic day next week? I don't know. It seems to be hit or miss. It really depends on the track for these guys. So we'll see what they bring at Road America. But when it comes to 1.5 miles, I think Toyota really figured it out recently. Someone that needs to figure it out, someone that needs to get it together is the 23 cars pit crew. And that's my wreckers. Because how many times have we talked about Bubba's pit crew just letting him down this season? It's to the point where I didn't think it could get any worse, but now his pit crew is affecting other drivers' days. And I might be salty because it was my driver who just so happened to have made up 4 spots on pit road and got himself into the top 10 on that restart before he smashed into the back of Bubba Wallace, who mysteriously just stopped in the middle of pit exit because his crew chief was yelling, "Stop, stop, stop," and with no explanation, because they were about to lose a tire for yet another loose lug nut on that team, which I believe is the 7th one we've seen this season where they had a loose wheel and either had to bring the car back onto pit road and correct it. Multiple spots lost over the entire season. It is so bad, and it's bad when you go on Twitter and you search Bubba Wallace, and it's not the normal haters that don't even watch NASCAR that just hate Bubba to hate Bubba, but it's people hating Bubba's crew for just sucking, which is exactly what you should see on Twitter. So there's been a shift on social media where people are like, man, what the hell's going on with Bubba's crew here?
If I'm Bubba Wallace at this point, Monday or Tuesday after the race, I'm rolling into that shop with 2 pairs of boxing gloves, one for himself and one for each member. And I'm saying, let's go, each of us, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm boxing every one of you. Let's go, because I'm so pissed off at your lack of performance. If I'm Denny Hamlin, I'm going in there and I'm asking those guys, do you guys want to work in this industry? Because I don't think you do, with how many times you screwed up. I feel so bad for Bubba. He's had a top 3 or 4 fast car, like literally 3 or 4 races this year, and nothing to show for it. And it's legitimately, it's not us making excuses for him. Legitimately, every time his crew is killing him.
Like the data doesn't lie.
Right.
Well, this is perfect segue here, because my checkers is actually Bubba Wallace stepping up and actually confronting and calling out his team.
Yeah.
I love that he did that. Like, he has every right to. If Kevin Harvick could do it, if Kyle Busch could do it, if there's other drivers out there that don't get criticized when they publicly scrutinize their crew, and why shouldn't he? And it's like, because he has every right. And I know people will be like, oh, well, Harvick's a champion and so-and-so's a champion and they have this many wins and that. Like, they have all that. They could yell.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. If you look at the stats, like you guys were just saying this year, Bubba, how he's been running and the reasons that he doesn't get the finishes, there's no doubt in anyone's mind it's all due to that crew. And it's like, you are screwing this dude out of legit top 5, top 10s, and even 2 wins this year that he probably could have gotten, but his crew screws it. So you know what? I'm giving my checkers to Bubba because I am so glad that he stepped up and actually spoke up and said, you know what? This shit's got to change. And, he deserves that right to step up and criticize his pit crew.
Eric, and again, I apologize. I've been removed from reality the past couple days, so I missed. What did he do it over the radio? Did he do it in?
Oh yeah,
I missed it.
Oh, he did it on the radio. Like right after that, he was like, I forget the exact quote, but it was along the lines of "Shut the fuck up." As Booty Baker was making excuses, he goes, "Shut the fuck up! I don't want to hear you talk for the rest of the race. I don't want to hear your voice."
So then his crew chief, Booty came back. He goes, listen, he goes, I understand you're frustrated. I get it. He goes, I'm still going to talk to you. He goes, but, I understand. So he was still talking to Bubba, but Bubba legit didn't say one more word for the entirety of the race. Not one more word. And then after the race, he ended up speaking with somebody. I saw the quotes on Twitter, so I don't really know where he said it. If it was an interview or whatnot, I read on Twitter some of the quotes where he basically, he came out and criticized his crew. He goes, I'm tired of driving up through the field numerous times during a race.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, too. Like, it's not like his crew screwed up and, okay, it was one time. No. Bubba, he actually has his crew's back, drives through, and says, you know what, guys, let's stick it together. I got this. Then they do it again and again and again. It's like, at what point do you just say, you know what? I could overcome this every once in a while because, hey, we all know this. Shit happens on pit road. But if you, like, I don't know who it was on Twitter. I saw a lot of people, they dug deep into this. And, like, his crew is just comically worse than every other crew as far as loose wheels coming off, errors on pit road, shit getting stuck. It's just comically bad. And you know what? I'm just happy he spoke up for himself because, we've stated on here how, he gets scrutiny for stuff that he shouldn't. And, his mental health and Matt, and he stated it a bunch from that Netflix show that he's watched with him and how it affects you as a driver.
Oh, yeah.
And, now to deal with this and not only have all of that he deals with on a week-to-week basis, but now your crew is actually
stealing wins away from you.
It's stealing wins and destroying him from shutting those haters up because everyone's like, oh, I want to see him drive. Well, he's trying to prove to these haters that he's supposed to be in that ride. He's supposed to be in the Cup Series. And has the talent to get up there and drive in the top 5 and win races. And his crew is taking that away from him. And all he wants to do is shut those haters up. As would I. Yeah. And he's trying that. And he's doing it. But these finishes at the end being taken away from him, man, it's heartbreaking to watch.
And like you have to think Denny Hamlin can't be happy with this, I'm almost certain, I don't know for a fact, we'd have to look real deep into the data, but I'm almost certain I saw on Twitter that Bubba Wallace has never made up a spot on pit road after a pit stop. Like he's never gained a position on pit road this season, and there's no one else to blame.
He has a negative. He probably
I think
loses
he does.
10 to 15 each time.
I think he does. And you want to know what? It was what you were complaining about early on in the season with Eric Jones, where you're like, man, why does he keep losing spots on pit road? But it's because Eric Jones's team is taking the time to actually, make sure the lugs are tight and everything. They don't want any errors on pit road. So at least he loses spots, but he doesn't have to worry about his wheels coming off. You know,
or going to the back of the lead lap, or losing, have to come down pit road for a penalty.
Having to come back down to tighten it because they didn't get it tight on the pit stop because they're flying through them and everything. And we know this pit crew is from Joe Gibbs Racing. Like, they're tinfoil hat, been saying it for years. Gibbs is sabotaging any team that he has an affiliation with, and it goes back to Martin Truex Jr. winning the championship because he'll never let another team outperform his main team. I'm sorry, like, you could call me crazy. I don't think I'm crazy here that they're sending them over subpar people, and then Mike Wheeler. Mike Wheeler had 3 good seasons with Denny Hamlin 6 years ago. Hasn't done shit since. Couldn't get Matt DiBenedetto a win with LFR Racing back in the day. Couldn't get Bubba a win with 2311 last year. And somehow he got promoted to competition director. Well, guess what? As a competition director, maybe you should be taking care of the flaws in your competition, and the flaws are your pit crew. So, like, what are we doing here, And now it's affecting other people on pit road.
Right, like, look at what Chad Knaus and Jeff Gordon did for Hendrick. That is what they need over there at Joe Gibbs. Yeah. They need somebody to step up, take charge, and be like, hey, these guys, you're done. You're out of here. We got to get new guys in. Like, I don't care how long you've been here or who you're friends with. Yeah. You're done.
Clear
this
house.
is a business. This is what we have to do. We have to win. It's performance-based business. You're not performing up to the standards of all these other cup teams, then guess what? You're gone. I
was on a tear on the Bump and Run podcast Twitter. I'm sure we made some friends and some enemies. I was reading that and
I'm like, dude, Whitey he is going down a fucking rabbit hole.
But I have to read this tweet because Bob Pockrass was talking about, who the structure and the hierarchy and who's charged. And someone goes, Wheels needs to clean house. They've been terrible on pit road. And I go, Wheels needs to be booted from the house. He had 6, and it basically did the 6 good seasons, or 3 good seasons with Denny 6 years ago. Rant I just did, but like it's outrageous. I don't know. I don't even know how Kurt Busch got a win and a 2nd place finish yesterday this season.
His crew's been shit too.
They have
screwing him out of a lot of good finishes this year as well. So. Yeah. Well, good for Bubba. He stuck up for himself. Deserves to do that. My wreckers, me.
Okay.
Wrecking me.
Yeah.
So back to the conversation I had on Saturday up my hunting cabin with my buddy PJ. And so we get bullshitting about NASCAR. And, I go, PJ, I know, because I think I asked him if he thinks he'll hold the points lead and win the regular season.
Yeah.
And I go, I would just really love to see him win more on ovals and not just road courses.
Yeah.
I feel like, that to me, this is my opinion. It's my little stigma I have for him is that's a one-trick pony with road courses when it comes to Chase. I know he runs well everywhere else, but it seems that the wins were only kind of coming at road courses. And I
like
think
the consistent really,
wins. Yeah, to round out his whole entire career, if he could start rifling off those wins, man, he'd basically be unstoppable.
Yeah.
So I'm going on and on about that. We're going back and forth. I'm like, yeah, he needs to win at more ovals, road course. He's like kind of a one-trick pony, and he's going back and forth. And literally, I was waiting for it. Once I found out that Chase won, look at my phone the next day, first text message I see from PJ. He goes, I can't wait to hear you on your podcast talk about him winning on an oval. And I go, you know what? He goes, it seems to me, I don't know what it is. Every time, I'm not a big shit talker, ball buster. I leave that to my brother.
Yeah.
Because I feel like every time I do it, this happens to me. I look like a fool, So, like, I go to races with Matt. Dale Jr. wins every single time I go.
Yeah.
Now he's an Elliott fan. We'll bust balls. Chase Elliot wins every time I go to a freaking race. So, like, sometimes every time I open up my mouth and I start busting balls. So this is why I kind of took it easy on you Whitey, in the last couple months.
No,
And,
start busting my balls. I need that good energy in the air. Please.
So I gotta take it easy on that, because every time I bust balls, they do well. So maybe I gotta start wrecking Eric Jones a little bit more and just criticizing his ass.
Yeah, please talk shit on Tyler Reddick, please. I felt so defeated after this weekend. Every weekend, you guys know, it just gets harder and harder ever since Bristol.
Well, you know that feeling. Like, as soon as I saw Chase won, I knew PJ was gonna. I was gonna get a text. I just knew it. It's like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, no, I get it. How about you, Matt? What's your checkers and wreckers for the weekend?
So, because I candidly didn't see a lot of the race, I kind of, both my checkers and my wreckers are things that came away from the track. My checkers went to low-hanging fruit, went to the NBC broadcast. So
yeah.
It needs to be said, though. It might be low-hanging, Matt, but it needs to be addressed.
We just spent 4 months of the season cursing Fox up and down. Not because we wanted to, but because it affected the way we consumed the races in a negative way. So It would be hypocritical for me if I didn't mention how good NBC was on Sunday. And it came to no surprise. We all called it for months. We can't wait for NBC to come. We can't wait for NBC to come. It seems like NBC learned the lesson of all the criticism that Fox got. We had overhead shots. We had thoughtful insight. Whitey, like you mentioned about Steve Letarte mentioning before, but after a rain delay, of how they were
scrubbing the tires.
Rubbing the tires onto the cement to get the rubber built into the track, and Steve Letarte calling it out. Little things like that.
Hard-hitting journalism from Parker Kligerman during.
Go ahead, sorry.
Hard-hitting journalism from Parker Kligerman during the rain delay. I know Eric was talking about the interview he had with Ross Chastain before the show.
Yeah. I know we go back to a couple years ago, that call that Rick Allen made when Kyle Busch was pitting, and how he lowered the jack and the way they called that pit stop. Just little things like that. All these little nuances make for an amazing broadcast. The great camera angles. God, it was so good and refreshing to have that crew back. And it was not only the booth that did a fantastic job, but you can tell the folks behind the camera and down in that truck actually care about the sport that they're broadcasting to the consumers. And it came across the television screen, like I said, the little bit that I did see of how much that whole crew really cares about our sport. So it was just refreshing, and I look forward to the rest of the season, getting to watch them get better and better as each race continues.
Not only was it refreshing, Matt, it was informative.
Yeah.
I think NASCAR fucked up because you have a new car. They struggled, Fox, explaining the details and working out the iron with this new car. They did a shitty job at explaining this new car and with the wheels and everything. Now, NBC, it was informative. They broke it down. They gave you the details of why things happen and when things happen and why they did this and that and just a little bit of background. Everything was just informative. And you're trying to get eyes on the sport. To the new fans, NBC should have started the season with this new car because they were way more informative in their broadcast in helping to explain in layman's terms to the fans and audience what is going on when there's these issues. So I did appreciate that.
The one thing that Steve Letarte does an excellent job at is talking to the fans who aren't necessarily gearheads. He speaks in layman's terms. He breaks down things like the way the wheel goes on in a way where everybody can understand it after he gets done explaining it. And like I said, the things like that go such a long way to helping the uninitiated understand our sport a little bit better. Oh, okay, that's how the wheel goes on.
Yeah.
That's how it locks into place so it doesn't come off.
Right, like we tried explaining that.
So
like everyone probably thought like, well, what are they talking about? Like, what is that? We tried, but without that awesome visual that NBC had, you would have no idea what we were talking about.
So I'm glad you brought that up, Eric, because I want to give ourselves a big pat on the back for that one. So if you didn't listen early on in the season, at Daytona, Brad Keselowski got popped for modifying the wheels. And we tried to explain it the next week where like, oh, there's all these holes on the back of the rim and he was boring them out just a little bit. That way it slides on these pins that are on the axle and all this stuff. And we tried to explain it because we thought it was important for the fan and the listener to know. And we tried to convey that, even if we didn't quite understand all the little details. I know, Eric, you explained it your way. I explained it my way because we both took different sources to try to figure it out. Like we were figuring it out together, like all the other fans, because we're not in the garage, but we did our best to explain it. And I'll give the credit to NBC because yes, they had 4 months to see Fox's mistakes and what to do differently.
I still think they came out firing on all cylinders though.
But they gave us that information. While we were trying to give this information 4 months ago on a podcast and explain it through words with no visualizations, because we thought it was important to tell the listeners and the fans of the sport how these things work. Fox was making comedy skits about seeds on Ross Chastain's lip and rivalries that didn't exist between Chase Elliot and Kyle Larson. So you see the difference in the broadcast. You know, NBC taking the sport seriously, broadcasting it as a serious sport, which is enjoyable, I think, versus Fox with Clint Boyer and no due respect to Clint Boyer, but they're going for comedy and it's a family show. And yeah, bring the family to the track because it is fun. And it is nice to see families at the track, but like, it's still a serious sport. This is a big money sport. This is competition. And I want to know more about the competition. I don't necessarily need to see 7 zoom in shots of kids playing in the infield. I would rather see, big kids in cars zooming around the track, That's just me.
All three of us are into comedy. We all follow comedians. We all listen to comedians' podcasts and whatnot. We love our comedy, but I don't go
Do you
to
think
NASCAR.
We're pulling out the tinfoil hat for no reason? It's to make people laugh a little bit too, you can have fun.
I don't go to NASCAR to laugh. I don't watch college football to laugh. I go because I want to consume the sport that I love.
Yeah.
And I take it seriously. Dale Jr. recently said, and he put it very elegantly, these guys are warriors. Let's treat them like they are.
Yeah.
These warriors. They're not up there. They're not stand-up comics. We're not here for jokes. We're here to be informed by the sport that we love and to watch the battle unfold. And NBC takes it seriously. Again, I'm not trying to be a stiff or anything like that. There's time for jokes. There's time. And they'll bust each other's balls every once in a while. But for the most part, they're doing an excellent job of explaining all the little details to give us a better product and to have us understand it.
I would rather laugh naturally than from some forced bit,
Right.
Like I think Michael Waltrip is hilarious in the booth doing truck races when he's just making subtle little jokes. I don't think he's too funny when he's running on the grid walk, and trying to make a spectacle. I'd rather see the natural personality come out than some forced comedy. But how about your records? What's your records for the weekend?
So my records, well, how about this? So on the last episode 2 weeks ago, I wrecked Whitey.
Yeah. I don't even, because I didn't play Daniel Suarez on my fantasy team. That was a big mistake.
This week's episode, I think for the very first time in show history, 2 of us wrecked ourselves.
Oh,
Eric,
yeah.
you wrecked yourself. I am wrecking myself for different reasons. I wrecked myself because I just couldn't stay awake after the rain delay. Okay, so let me take you back in time. The last time I did this, I promised myself I'll never do it again.
Yeah.
It was July 5th, 2015. I had similarly enough, I had to get up early the next day. It was a travel day for work. And I remember specifically telling my dad, it was the Daytona race. I remember specifically telling my dad, I got to go to bed. I can't stay up. This race is running late. But
it was a 6-hour rain delay, right? Something like that.
I forget why I couldn't stay up. It was either a rain delay again, or I forget why, but I remember I had to get up very early the next morning. So I said, you know what? It's not worth it. I'm going to go to bed. But I remember telling my dad before I went to bed, we were talking about the race. I said, I guarantee you I'm going to go to bed and Dale Jr. is going to win this race.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, I wake up the next morning, look at my phone. First thing I see, Dale Jr. won the race. My heart sunk into my stomach because, oh my God, the Dale Jr. wins don't come often. I missed it. I missed it. So I vowed, no matter what time I have to wake up the next day, no matter what's going on, I'm not going to miss the race if it's within my control. This race was within my control. I could have stayed up, but I just, like we talked about earlier, had a long weekend. I couldn't do it. The last thing I said to Stephanie was, we're going to go to bed. My wife, I told her, we're going to go to bed. Chase Elliott's going to win this race. Just like Eric brought up our buddy PJ and his records, I'm bringing up PJ and my records. PJ and I talk. We're both Chase Elliott fans. We talk during every race. We send each other information that we're getting from various sources and whatnot about Chase so we can keep each other informed.
Yeah.
And before the rain delay, he sent me a graph showing Chase Elliott's lap times and that he was the fastest. He had the best car
Cut through the field.
And I just knew it. I knew it.
Yeah.
The first thing I did, it was the same feeling 7 years later, almost to the day, 7 years later. I woke up on Monday morning, flipped over my phone and saw that Chase won. And I was like, oh my God, I did it again. So I'm not doing that anymore. I wrecked myself. I'm not missing another race if it's within my control. And, but yeah, I mean, I'm happy he won, but it's just not the same when you miss your guy win.
So what you're telling me is I need Eric to bust my balls about Tyler Reddick, and then I need to go to sleep in the middle of the race on Sunday and hopefully sleep through the end.
Yep.
And wake up to Tyler Reddick's first win, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's what needs to happen.
All right. Do you guys want to go through my race notes? So a lot of this has to kind of do with the final stage, which you guys missed because things got shaken up with some late race cautions. Kurt Busch, he came in second. He led once for 3 laps, but he scored stage points in both stages, so a really fast car. Ryan Blaney, he had a consistent top 10 car all night long. He had some issues that put him into the wall, though. I don't know if you guys caught that one. I think that was after the final rain delay, but that
had it in the highlight package.
Yeah. So he had to go. He had to go to the back. He worked his way back up through some pit strategy. Ended up coming in third at the end of the night. So great drive by Ryan Blaney, overcoming that adversity. Kyle Larson, consistent top 10 car all night long, but not much in terms of like running up front. And I said to you guys on Monday when we were talking, I feel like this season is the season that I thought Kyle Larson was going to have last season, coming off from being out for, almost a full year. I figured it would take him time to get used to the Cup car again. And he proved me wrong, and he lit it up around the summertime, getting 10 wins last season. This season, it seems like he's struggling. Every week, the odd makers in Vegas are picking him to win, and he only has 1 win on the season. Are you guys concerned at all about Kyle Larson? I feel like he went from top dog at Hendrick to second fiddle behind Chase real quick.
I'm not concerned. I do hear in his demeanor on Radioactive that maybe could lead me into some concern. Yeah. I just feel like sometimes Larson just doesn't give a shit about NASCAR.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. I feel like he would much rather race during the week. That, to me, that is where Larson wants to race during the week. And then on Sundays on the weekend,
he's just paying the bills.
Okay. It just that just pays the bills. But
yeah.
he really loves during the week.
Yeah, NASCAR is his means to race during the week on the dirt. That's what. Yeah, they NASCAR pays the bills. I can't help but feel the same way. Maybe we're wrong. We don't know the guy, but the way it comes off, the
last couple weeks, especially the way it came off, like he's been talking about, I got to go racing during the week, so qualifying's here. Like it just seems like most of his focus is racing during the week rather than on Sundays. And to me, okay, he got that 1 win. Now he knows he's kind of like, okay, I'm there. And I don't know. I just think his focus is off a little bit right now. And, knowing Whitey, to your point about last year, he had to prove something. He proved it. Now this year, it's like, okay, maybe he could switch that focus to the midweek dirt racing rather than full-on focus on coming back to the Cup. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think we'll have to wait and see here.
I tell you what, someone that is focused on winning that Cup right now, he came in 5th. It's Ross Chastain. Wasn't really much of a factor all day. Definitely not what we've come to accustomed to see out of him. But I mean, everyone has an off week every now and then. And if a 5th place finish is an off week for Ross Chastain, I think that's a pretty good off week. So I wasn't surprised there. Denny Hamlin, he came in 6th. I feel like he had a really good shot to win. Again, you know, pit strategies and whatnot kind of bit him a little bit. Austin Cindric, 7th place. I don't think he deserved it, to be honest with you. He was running in like 20.
He had issues too during the day.
He did have issues. He was running in the back of the pack for a lot of the day. He struggled mid-pack all race, and then some late race strategy put him in the top 10. He was able to hold on to it. Christopher Bell, another guy, like I said earlier on when I was talking about Toyota, he was just up and down all night long. I had confidence in him, though. I played him on my fantasy team. I was a little nervous, and then he got me a top 10, and I won the weekend in fantasy. So it was a good weekend for fantasy for me. Joey Logano, he was another guy who was really a non-factor all race, scored no stage points. He led twice for 4 laps. I'm pretty sure that was during green flag pit stops, and then scored himself a 9th place finish. So good day, I guess, in the end for Joey Logano. And then Kevin Harvick, I feel like he was a factor early on, really battling hard for 3rd, ended up with a 10th place finish. Felt like he floated around 4th all night long, and then as the runs would go on, he'd kind of fade back a little bit. It was fun watching Harvick do well at Shredder's house, though, because, you know, our buddy Shrey is a huge Kevin Harvick fan. And it was fun watching him run in 3rd, but then him getting pissed that he wasn't running better because he's like, come on, man. Come on, catch up to them. So, like, it was exciting. It's all about the environment you watch races in with. So that was fun for me. And then 12th place Bubba, we talked about him. And then just got to give a shout out to Michael McDowell. He had a 13th place finish, but he had a way better day than that. He was running solid in the top 10 for much of the 2nd and 3rd stage. I think he was another victim of some guys taking different pit strategies. I think he came in for 4 tires. I'm not exactly sure, but I think that's why he got shuffled back. And then last place here on the Bumper Run podcast, everyone loves to talk about the winner of the race, one Chase Elliott. We got to talk about the loser of the race, the guy that came in last. It was one Alex Bowman, and it was from no fault of his own. He got taken out by who I think is one of the biggest wrecking balls in NASCAR. Move over, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Corey LaJoie is pushing Alex Bowman out of the way in the corners and putting him into a wall. His tire went down, destroyed the front of his car, and he ended up finishing last place. What did you guys think about that? I know that was early on in the race, so you guys got to see that all unfold as William Byron was having issues in the same exact lap. 2 Hendrick cars out at one time.
It made me nervous for sure. I mean, I know the Bowman thing, you know, wasn't his fault, but yeah, two of the teammates for Hendrick were out of the race early. I just thought it's gonna be one of those days for Hendrick, isn't it? But boy, oh boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, Corey LaJoie, just he kind of reminds me a little bit of like Ross Chastain in the trucks coming through Xfinity, like that super aggressive, doesn't know when to use it and when not to use it. Because, you know, Corey does put together decent races here and there. But I remember watching him when we were at Dover, just absolutely driving like an idiot. Because he was bumping everybody that was around him. And it just so happened that Reddick and Eric Jones and I think it was Allmendinger, they were all racing around each other in like 15th, 13th. And it's like,
LaJoie was just holding everyone up.
Smashing into, and it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're not like, like he does frustrate me at certain racetracks. Like, if he could just learn how to use that and time it a little better,
harness it, you know.
But yeah, he is a wrecking ball, Whitey.
But Yeah, that's all I have for the race weekend. You guys want to jump into the pick lanes?
Do it.
All right, let's go. We're in the home stretch, babies. A little seventh inning stretch. We'll finish this podcast out strong. The choose cone is out. I got some questions for you guys to debate. You pick the lane. The first one, the pre and post race this week were on the Peacock app. Is that a big deal for you guys? Would you pay extra for those segments, or are you okay missing out on the pre and post race show during a regular broadcast?
That's a big deal for me. I'll tell you what, admittedly, just candidly, I did not know that. I thought it was really weird that, this is NBC's first NASCAR broadcast of the season. Why is there literally no pre-race show?
Yeah.
It's coming on the air at 5 o'clock, and because the weather pushed up the start of the race, there was literally no pre-race show. I thought that was really weird, and until I read your the notes that you sent over for the show today, I didn't even know that Peacock had the pre and post race show. So that would have been nice to know.
Yeah,
I like to see all that. You know, that's where you get that little bit of information to kind of set the tone and set the the stage for what you're about to see. And it gives you a better idea of the racetrack, what to look forward to, what not to look forward to, and who's going to do well and why. And that's all like goes into, to like now at the end, the cutoff line is going to come into play. I want to know before the race even starts who the cutoff line is. So that, and post race, obviously post race, you want to know if there's any drama. You want to see any of that kind of stuff go down. So yeah, that is really, really important to me, and it should be for most fans, I would assume.
Whitey, is that going to be the norm this whole season for NBC?
That's what I'm trying to look up now. I'm trying to find if I could find like the broadcast schedule or anything.
I'll be honest with you. If that's the case, like if it's for every once in a while because of programming dilemmas or whatever, I can adjust to it as long as I know about it beforehand. Because I do get Peacock. So as far as the access is it's not a big deal for me because I do get the Peacock, but it would kind of be a bummer if I had to switch over to an app before and after every race, because like Eric just said, I like getting all that information downloaded onto me before the race starts too. Most of the time on a race Sunday, I specifically set aside time before the race, get all my stuff done so I can sit down, relax, get all that pre-race stuff put onto me so I'm ready by the time the green flag drops. So again, I guess, it's not, at the end of the day, it's not a huge deal if I still have access to it on Peacock, but I would like it if it was just all on the same broadcast.
Well, we know it's not a big deal for one of the three of us here as far as the pre-race stuff goes, because I doubt one of us, I'm not going to say any names, probably never saw any pre-race show ever.
Yeah. And I bet you that one person that you're talking about, I won't name any names either because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But I bet you that one person that you're talking about barely even sees the start of the races, let alone the pre-races.
I've only missed 2 starts to the races this season.
Whitey, we never said we were talking about you.
I mean,
what is this? I didn't know names were after.
So I was just trying to look it up to see if I could find the pre-race. To be honest with you, I haven't seen a single pre-race all season long. I've maybe seen 2 national anthums.
That's sad.
Get it together. You're gonna be 34 next month.
Usually we're running errands and stuff. I'm literally running
earlier.
I'm running through the door and turning the TV on as like the cars are coming out of 4 to take the green flag.
Why don't you adjust the time that you run errands like an hour earlier?
You want to know what it's you'd have to be a therapist to be able to figure it out because it goes back that far. I've procrastinated my entire life to the point where I know no other way.
Okay.
Like I show up late for work every single day. And when I say I'm late for work, today I punched in at 8 after. Yesterday I punched in at 11 after. It's to the point where my boss made a joke one day where he's like, I'm going to change your start time to quarter after. That way you're on time. And I said, Charles, if you could do that and don't tell me you did it, you'd really be doing myself a favor. You know, it's one of those things. It doesn't matter what time I have to be somewhere. I'm not going to be on time. And I try to be on time every week. I go on, I look at what Bob Pocker says. He goes, 3:14 green flag. Oh, perfect. I'll be home by 3:00. No worries. And sure enough, I'm driving down the Ave, listening to the Motor Racing Network broadcast. And when the anthem comes on, I know I got about 3 minutes to get home, and I'll be okay to catch the beginning of the race. But
there's going to be a new segment on this show. Did Whitey watch the pre-race coverage?
But you want to know what? If it's on Peacock, maybe I'll download the app. That's the thing. My whole thing is I love post-race. I want the post-race coverage. I want to know what I missed throughout the race. I want to hear from every single driver. I really do. Maybe not like 20th and back, but I want to know all these little storylines so I could talk about them here on the podcast. That's why the Motor Racing Network and SiriusXM, they do a great post-race show. You get all the coverage you need there.
Claire B. great.
Claire B. Lang is fantastic with that stuff. And I want that post-race on at NBC, so I might sign up for Peacock to see what kind of post-race we're getting. The thing is, though, I'm just so sick of signing up for all these services, and I have to thank you, Matt, for giving us your passwords to cable and stuff, because without that, like, thank you for your service, we would not be able to watch racing every week, to be honest with you.
I'm going to change the password one of these weeks right before the race starts.
You want to know what, though? You're going to... Oh, please don't do that. I'll be in a fucking panic.
I would never.
You're going to have to send that password for Xfinity over again, though. I tried to type it in this week. It wasn't active. I used your old cable provider this week. It's still good.
I handed that equipment in today. So
okay. So I assume that's going off the air. And, well, I don't know if there was a period at the end. There was an at in the middle.
I'll give you the new information.
Okay. I appreciate that one. But you want to know what, though? If they are going to be on Peacock for the rest of the season, I think I'm going to have to bite the bullet and buy Peacock monthly or whatever it is. I think it's $5 a month. Yeah, I'm just sick of paying for all these services, you know? I think that's the running joke anymore with you know, you pay for more services than you did for cable, you know? So I don't know. But, yeah, that's my spot. Choose Cone's back out. With the amount of winners we've had so far this season, do you see any one driver above others as a favorite to win a title? I know, Matt, going into the season, you said Ryan Blaney was your favorite to win just off of, you know, preseason predictions. But do either of you guys have like a favorite to win right now?
I don't. I would like to say, hopefully Chase Elliott, but I'm not confident in saying he's going to be a favorite over a Ross Chastain, a Kyle Busch, a Kyle Larson.
Yeah.
Denny Hamlin, if Denny can get hot, you know, I know the first couple months of the season haven't been the best to Denny, but if he can turn things around, I mean, he's starting to find speed like all of JGR is. He could be a contender come playoff time. So I really don't, me personally, I'm going to take the high line on at the Choose Cone. I'm saying, no, I don't have a clear-cut favorite right now.
How about you, Eric?
I don't have a clear-cut favorite, but my gut is telling me that if you're a driver that has been running consistent, maybe not getting the wins or maybe have a win, you're looking good. I think these drivers that stay out of the spotlight and go under the radar sometimes have a better shot in the playoffs just because less pressure. They're just doing what they've done all year. There is no pressure to keep winning if you just don't win at all, you know? So it's like one of those situations. Like Blaney right now, like I predicted him to have a hell of a summer coming up. So if he has a hell of a summer, doesn't necessarily get a win, let's say, but he still has those top 5, top 10s and runs super consistent every week, he's going to fly under the radar still like he has been. And I think a guy like that come playoff time, and Matt, I agree with the Denny Hamlin thing, someone that could get through adversity of a season like Denny and still have 2 wins and still week to week, struggle, but come back and find ways to win. That's a team that could win a championship. Get through that adversity. You've been through the ups and downs, and you still have 2 wins. So the mentality is there for them if they find the speed like they have been. But to say one single guy, I'm going to say no, because it all depends on who comes off those haulers every week. Some teams hit, some teams don't. And from week to week, even some of these major teams, they're flopping. They're not hitting every week. And with these practice being so low, with the times, I just think it's literally a guessing game for these car chiefs setting up that car and who's going to come off that hauler.
Yeah, I don't even know where to begin. The parity this season is just so intense. And like you said,
makes it hard.
Yeah, and like you said, like Matt, a guy like Denny, he could get hot in the middle of the playoffs. He did it last year. He was super consistent last year, and then he was on fire as soon as the playoffs started. And then he, in the end, of course, Denny doesn't win the title. But it's just one of those things. I wouldn't even know where to begin. I wouldn't even know which manufacturer to pick at this point, right, because it seems so up and down. But we're running out of a little bit of time. Just one last pick a lane then. Stick with Nashville Super Speedway or move forward with the Fairgrounds. Fairgrounds has been a goal for a long time for a lot of people, especially at SMI. Are you guys happy with staying at the Nashville Super Speedway, or do you want to see us still go to the Fairgrounds?
I like what I've seen from the Super Speedway, but I've had time to mull it over. And at the end of the day, I would like to see. I believe that the fairgrounds are like literally in downtown.
In downtown,
Nashville, like right in city limits. So I would like to see NASCAR put on a show in the city limits of Nashville. That town has that town is kind of goes hand in hand with what NASCAR is all about. I would like to see NASCAR be celebrated with the city of Nashville and not really on the outskirts where the Super Speedway is. So I had time to think about it, and I would like to see them move forward with the fairgrounds.
All right. How about you, Eric?
Yeah, I'd like to see them. We saw 2 races here. I'd like to see them run over there at the fairgrounds as well. And just something about just change the name. Super Speedway to me, I that's plate race to me. Like,
yeah,
the Nashville Super Speedway, like, no, you're not. Like, that just annoyed the shit out of me. So change your name, bitch.
I agree with both of you guys, but I would like to see a combination of the two, because they are both would be run by SMI. So go to the fairgrounds one year, the next year give the date to the Super Speedway and go back and forth. I don't want to see 2 dates in Nashville though. I want to see one date in that market. I don't want to oversaturate the market. But that's all I have for the pickle lanes. And we're going road course racing. We're heading to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin to Road America. Xfinity will be on track Saturday at 2:30 for the Henry 180. That's on USA Network. And then Cup will be on track Sunday at 3 p.m. for the Quick Trip 250 presented by Jockey Made in America. And practice and qualifying will be Saturday morning, 11:30 on USA. We picked our drivers to win in Nashville. None of us got it right. We had a 4-race winning streak going, and we lost. Chase Elliot, your winner. Eric was the closest. He picked Ryan Blaney. He got you 44 points. Matt came in second this week. He got you 43 points. He picked Kyle Larson. And I came in last. I picked William Byron. He got me a whopping 2 points after being taken out early in the day and then coming back just to make up laps later on in the race. So I get to pick first for Road America. Matt gets to pick second, and Eric gets to pick last. Matt, do you have the stats we need to make an educated guess? What is the Vegas odds telling us for Road America?
I sure do. The Quick Trip 250 at Road America It is on the 3rd of July, but it is 4th of July weekend. We can celebrate the whole weekend with fireworks. And one of these drivers that I'm about to mention, I believe, is going to be putting on fireworks on Sunday up there in Wisconsin. So the betting lines here are provided by DraftKings. I'm going to give you the top 10 and the top 10 favorites odds wise. So we'll start with Austin Cindric, Christopher Bell, and Joey Logano, all at plus 1,500. There's one guy in there that I really like. There's one guy in there that I think should have better odds. And that's maybe just a little hint at who I might be picking this week.
Okay.
Ryan Blaney, Martin Truex Jr., and Denny Hamlin all at plus 1,200. Again, all these guys could win this race coming up. Great odds. Kyle Busch at plus 900, Ross Chastain at plus 800, Kyle Larson at plus 600. And then, of course, whenever you're going to a road course, your favorite's going to be Chase Elliott until proven otherwise. He is at a plus 500. Still great odds and a chance to win some money if you do play some money on him to win the race.
All right. I am going with a long shot. You didn't even say his name. I have
Don't
a feeling.
Dare. Don't you fucking dare, Whitey. Don't you dare.
I have a feeling that you know who I'm picking.
You're gonna do it.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. He's at a plus 2,500. It's a road course. He's running out of options. He's running out of time to make it to the playoffs. He's sitting out looking in. I am picking my guy, Tyler Reddick, to get his first win at Road America on 4th of July weekend.
Is that who you're going to pick, Eric?
Oh, I'm good. I'm still good.
Okay.
I'm still good.
You were going to take Ty Dillon, weren't you?
If this was the Clash, I'm taking him.
All right, that leaves my first pick wide open for me. I told you he was within that grouping of plus 1,500. He came in second last year. JGR's running well. I am taking Christopher Bell in the number 20 to finally get it done at Road America.
I think that's a good pick too.
All right, so I'm going with the long shot as well, Whitey. Going with my gut. We've mentioned this guy as running really well, consistent this year.
No way.
And top 10 all day, more than he's ever had.
No.
And this is his best racetrack that he's going to. This is the time when we're all talking about how many winners, and we don't need any extra winners, Whitey, but I picked one first-time winner this year. And I'm going to pick not his first win, but I'm going to pick another first-time winner for this season, and that's the 34 car of Michael McDowell.
You want to know what?
The Love Machine is going to victory lane, baby. Let's go, Michael McDowell.
Wow.
I doubted him at Sonoma. I'm not doubting him this week at Road America. I think that's an excellent pick. All right, Matt, we keep forgetting every week. Head to heads, we got 3 minutes, so let's power through these real quick.
All right, very, very quick. They were kind of random this week. The first head-to-head is Christopher Bell versus Denny Hamlin, teammates. Christopher Bell at a plus 100, and Denny Hamlin, the favorite in this head-to-head at minus 120. I picked Christopher Bell to win the race. I'm picking Christopher Bell here.
I agree with you. Give me C.
I'm
Bell.
going Denny.
All right.
Okay, next one, Tyler Reddick versus William Byron. They got into it a few times last year. Is there still a rivalry there? They are both neck and neck at the same exact odds in this head-to-head, both minus 110. I'm taking Tyler Reddick.
You already know. I'm taking Tyler Reddick.
You know what? Fuck Tyler Reddick. He's going to be in the grass all fucking day. Willie, 2 clocks over Reddick.
Okay.
Next one, Ford versus Ford. Ryan Blaney at a minus 115 versus Austin Cindric. They are teammates at a minus 105. Ryan Blaney, the slight favorite there. I am taking Ryan Blaney.
You know what? I'm going to go with the underdogs this week. I'm going to go with Cindric. He tends to run well. He's got this cup car under him a little bit. I think a road course, I think he's going to do fairly well. Going with the 2.
Yeah, man, this is really tough. Give me Austin Cindric. Blaney's just too hit or miss every now and then. I think Cindric did really well last time. So we will see. We'll see what happens this Sunday, 3 p.m. for the Quick Trip 250 presented by Jockey Made in America on USA. We're 17 races in. We have 12 different winners. just mentioned Austin Cindric, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, Chase Briscoe, William Byron, Ross Chastain, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Kurt Busch, and Daniel Suarez all locked into the playoffs. There is 4 open spots. Can Tyler Reddick take one of those spots? Can Michael McDowell take one of those spots? Can Christopher Bell, who's already pointed his way in, lock himself in with a win? We will find out this Sunday, 3 p.m. on USA Network, and we'll break it all down for you next Tuesday night. We're taking the 4th off to enjoy the holidays. For Matt the Statman Reilly, for Eric Daytona Ron, I'm Michael D. White saying have a good night.
The bump and run.
There it is.